Okay, thoughts from the shower. Take one.
Okay, so I just got out of the shower, and I'm not saying this to be a video, but Mark said that he had to videotape it because he sees that I'm upset about something I was thinking about. So I was thinking about, you'll hear a little noise in the background because Naomi's making brownies for later. So I was thinking about the idea of backslidden Christians, which I know has not been an idea of the church for all time and eternity. It used to be. I feel like I need to talk to you and not the camera. So come sit down so you're like my level because you're like really hot. Hi. Okay. So
But there's light there. We need to do this here, and then we can put your feet on me like that.
Okay.
There you go.
So now I'm nice and comfy. Okay, so backslidden Christians have not been a practice of the church for all time and eternity. It used to be that you were a Christian that showed your faith by your works, like it talks about in James, or you weren't a Christian. Like that's what it talks about in James. You're a Christian who has faith, which is shown by works because you love God and you want to serve him, or you have no works and therefore you have no faith because you're not going to do anything for God. So we now, and I don't know when it started, I haven't looked up the dates or anything, but we now have what we call backslidden Christians, which are Christians that just don't show up at church, don't pray, don't want to pray for people, don't read their Bibles, don't want to read their Bibles. I'm not saying someone who's stuck in a hospital bed that can't read, because they went blind, not reading their Bible. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who have no desire. They have a lack of desire or no desire for wanting to do these things that bring us closer to our Creator and Savior. And if you don't want to do those things, how can you call yourself a Christian? It would be like if I said, yes, I really love my husband, but I don't like spending time with him. That would be, you'd say, you guys don't have a good marriage. I couldn't try to prove to you that I loved him if I didn't want to be with him and serve him. And I know people don't like to hear that women serve their husbands, but I do. Like, I think through, would my husband like to eat this for dinner? I think through, would my husband like this color blanket that I'm going to buy at the store? I think through those things because I love my husband. I want to do good things for him. Just like I love God and I want to do things for him and I want to get to know him better. So we now have all these backslidden Christians that we just say are Christians, and we're very excited when they show up on Easter Sunday or Christmas, and we're like, oh boy, they're here, isn't it good? They're back. They came back from the slidden side. They weren't slidden. They weren't part of us. If they were able to just walk away from us and not care, they weren't part of us. Now, if they walked away into sin and they've been battling and working with other men and other Christians, I'm not saying it's about being in the church building on Sunday morning, but if you actually feel guilt for your sin, not just I can walk away for weeks, months, years and be like, oh, it's okay, I'm dealing with my thing, and do your own thing. Okay, so how that has to do with teenagers is I was thinking of how many parents, especially church parents, because that's most of the people.
Teenagers.
Yeah, teenagers. Okay, so
teenagers don't exist.
We don't believe in the idea of teenagers. We have 2 teenagers in our house.
They don't exist. Neither do you.
See, they don't exist.
Neither do you exist.
Friend.
But anyway, teenagers. So we have an almost 18, in a couple weeks, 18-year-old. And we have a just turned 14-year-old, right? Okay, so we've had 2 teenagers in the house for a little bit. They both are not what you would call the average teenager. They want to be with mommy and daddy. They want to help out around the house. They want to play with their brother. Naomi asked me if she could make dessert for Christian friends that we have coming over today.
Oh, we're sending some with the merits as well.
Okay, the Christian friends we have coming over today, their oldest child is 6. So it's not that the girls are excited because their friends are coming. They're excited to hang out with the adults.
But they know nothing here.
I know, but you guys aren't the normal teenager. The normal teenager would be like, ugh, none of my friends are coming over. Why didn't you invite my friends? I'm going to sit here and be on my phone and pretend that no one else exists. So anyway, teenagers. So we have a lot of parents in churches who allow their teenagers to be teenagers, and they will pay money for their kids to play some sport that meets on a Sunday so that they can't actually go to church. They will let their children join clubs that don't have Christian content. Not all Christian content is good. I'm not saying that we can fight that, but I'm saying join the chess club, okay? nothing inherently wrong with chess. But why is your kid joining the chess club? If it's so they can share the gospel, that's great. But think about it. If they were to share the gospel in chess club, would they get in trouble? And if they would, is that the type of place you want to send them? And if they're not going to if they are going to get in trouble sharing it, but they're still going to share the gospel some other way, are they doing that under your supervision or not? Because I know a lot of kids who say, oh, I'm going to share the light of Christ with my friends, and then they don't actually talk about the gospel, and they go out and do things that they shouldn't be doing, going places they shouldn't be going.
Oftentimes because they have no light in themselves.
Exactly. So then you also are letting them be out in the world. And I'll say that we let our oldest son be out in the world too much, and so we've seen some ramifications of this, and we have reined it in. I'm saying it's not too late to rein in your children. Bring your children back home. But we involve our children in a lot of stuff that let them get away from mom and dad and let them get away from the family. And so I'm going to go do this sport event where I'm going to travel on a bus. We're going to play our sport. We're going to come home. I'm going to be gone from my family for 5 hours. I don't have to think about them. I don't have to deal with them. I don't have to love my siblings. I don't have to listen to mom and dad. All of that stuff. It's the same thing with the backslidden Christians. We let these backslidden Christians walk away from the church. I'm not saying they're really Christians. I'm saying what we're calling them. We let them walk away from the church. We'll sometimes give them a call and be like, hey, we'd love to see you. Can I take you out for coffee? Not really talk about God or talk about it on a very superficial level. And then we're all excited when 6 months later they decide to darken the door of the church some Sunday because suddenly they were like, oh, maybe people are going to look at me funny if I don't go back to church. That type of thing. So we're making these cultures where it's okay to walk away from your family, whether it be teenagers who walk away from their physical family or Christians, not Christians, who walk away from their spiritual family. And we say, that's okay. That's just for this time and stage in their life. And we need to understand them and give them grace and let them do their thing. I'm not saying this applies to every teenager, every backslidden Christian. The baby wants coffee. He thinks he's a teenager too. But we say that this is okay. We need to let people walk through this stage in life. Instead of saying it's a sin. If you love Christ, you're going to follow him. You're going to read your Bible. You're going to want to be part of the family of Christ. This might not be Sunday mornings. My mother is a nurse at a hospital and she has to work some Sunday mornings. And I'm not saying she's less of a Christian because this Sunday she had to work at church. At work. There are people that need to work on Sundays, but if you are taking a job where you have to work every Sunday because your desire is not to be in church on Sunday mornings?
Sorry, Samuel's not angry. He's being a soldier. He just stormed off looking like an angry person.
He's our next teenager.
You looked like an angry person storming off, but you were just marching or something.
He's our next teenager. So anyway, hard to do this with a towel on my head. You got crazy hair going on. But anyway, just the idea that we think it's okay for these two groups of people, teenagers and these non-Christians, to walk away for a while and then decide when it's their time and place to come back. Like they get to set up the rules of this relationship that we have. But the thing is, for the teenagers, parents are the ones who get to set up the rules for this relationship. And I can't say that you can save any of your kids. He's getting a muffin, I think. I'm not saying you can save any of your kids. Right now, I have 2 teenage girls who choose to read their Bibles and choose to talk to people, like actually sharing the gospel because Mark or I are there watching them share the gospel. They choose to pray for people. They choose to write letters to people to encourage them in the Lord's work. Those are all great things. I'm not saying that my next teenager or the teenagers that will come up after them are going to be that way. But I can keep them in the house. I can keep them like doing Bible study with us, even if they don't want to. I'm sorry, this is what we do at a family. At 10 o'clock in the morning, most mornings, we sit down and we study our Bibles together. Whether you want to be there or not, that's part of what our family does. As the Cowperthwaite family, this is what we do. And as Christians, we have jobs also. And we are to be part of this family of God. We are to be there learning about him. We're to be there worshiping him corporately. We're supposed to all be bringing something to church that we can share with each other. And we're supposed to be bearing one another's burdens. We're supposed to be helping each other out and loving our neighbor as we love ourselves. And we say, oh, it's okay. For whatever time and place you want to, you can walk away from it. And we're going to just bring you back into the fold as if you've always been here. Sometimes that's neglecting the sheep that are actually in your church while we welcome in the goats that we're like, oh, goat, we haven't seen you for a while. We're so glad you're here. What treats can we give you? Well, we're letting the sheep within the church starve. And we're letting our teenagers within these Christian households starve by letting them walk away and not be part of our Bible studies and not be part of our Christian culture family that we're doing.
That's something the good shepherd brings the sheep that wanders back. He doesn't just leave them out there and say, well, they're a long ways, I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, no, he doesn't leave them out there. But the thing is, we think that a lot of people who leave the church are sheep. And a lot of the people who leave the church are not really sheep. They weren't really part of us before. And that's a hard thing to discern. So this video can't cover all of that, but there's also the idea that a true saint isn't going to walk away from the Lord and be gone.
From among us because they were never really
right.
us.
They're not going to go out and be gone for a long time. There may be a fall into sin that they need a hand up. They're stuck in the pit and they need a hand up, but they're not on their way to hell. And if you don't catch them, they're going to run to hell, because if they're truly a saint, they're saved for good. So there's my eternal salvation message right there. So anyway, those were just the thoughts, the meanderings of a shower. That's what happens when a mom gets some time alone. She actually gets to think for a little bit. So there you go.